Time to get started. Not with that. How about we try this? Welcome to At the Track Live. My name is Coach James. I am the creator and lead instructor for All About Aerodynamics. What is All About Aerodynamics, you ask? Even if you didn't ask, I'm going to tell you. All About Aerodynamics is a science program where I use Hot Wheels cars to teach kindergarten through 6th grade students about physics, about energy, about Isaac Newton and his 3 laws of motion, about force, about downforce, about drag, about lift, about a whole range of science topics. And what I do is after I've given the students, filled them with all of this science and physics knowledge, then I allow them to pick from one of more than 500 different Hot Wheels cars that they can race. And why are they racing Hot Wheels cars? They're racing the Hot Wheels cars because all of the lessons they learned about aerodynamics, about physics, about force, about energy, about Isaac Newton, about force, about gravity, about friction, all of those lessons can be applied to Hot Wheels cars that are racing down our 20-foot track. And the students can then observe all of these different principles at work. And we use the scientific method, so then they go through a series of steps, and they're able to first ask the question of which car is fastest. And then they go through their whole hypothesis about which car they think is fastest. And then we've learned a range of things. That's their research. And then we have the experiment. And the experiment is we set up a tournament, and the students race the cars and then make observations about how their cars performed. Did their cars perform up to or below their expectations? Would they choose that same car again if they had another opportunity? And in doing that, and having these cars race, and having the students observe the way that the cars perform, they actually learn, they're having fun, and if I've done my job correctly, then at the end they're asking more questions. Well, what about if the track were shorter, or what if the track were longer? If I get those what if questions, it means that I've stimulated their minds and gotten them thinking about a whole range of topics beyond just the Hot Wheels cars and the races. So All About Aerodynamics is a great program that can be we've been to science nights, we've been to after school programs, we've been special engagements for just a day, and there's even an online version of the program. So for more information about that, you can go to AtTheTrack.live, and there's a link. And the reason why you go to AtTheTrack.live is because AtTheTrack.live is where we actually race the cars that are then taken to the schools to use with the students. And before I can take my stash of Hot Wheels cars to let the students use, I have to make sure that I have accounted for all of the cars. So I have to take pictures of the cars, I have to enter them into a spreadsheet, and I have to shoot a short video. And the video is mainly for the online class, but it's something I have to do. And prior to, like, earlier last year and in the years before, I would just get a bunch of Hot Wheels cars that I've purchased because I have them in storage, and there's hundreds of cars in the storage bin. And I would crack the cars open and just sit there and take the pictures, take the video, and just go through it. And it was a pretty boring process. So I was thinking, how can I turn something that I have to do into something that's fun to do? And came up with the idea for AtTheTrack.live. And what happens here is I'll go into the storage, I'll pull out about 6 Hot Wheels cars and crack those open. We'll take a look at those, do a little review, and I'll take the pictures, I'll put it into the spreadsheet, but then I will take the cars to the track and we'll have a little mini tournament. Now, the part where you get to play a role is that if you go to AtTheTrack.live and you select the third option. The first option is the YouTube link. The second option is the Twitch link. Third option is a link that says choose a car. If you do that, then it will take you to this page. And on this page, you can scroll through and see all of the cars that we currently have in the All About Aerodynamics AtTheTrack.live fleet. And currently we are up to 549 cars. So there are 549 different cars that you can pick from. And what happens when you pick? Well, what you'll do is you find the car that you think is faster than the car that I've cracked open. So once I start pulling out the cars from storage, we take a look at those, and we're going to take that car to the track. But if you see a car that you think is faster than the car that I've picked, then all you have to do is come to this page and find the car that you want to pick. So let's say you think this Ferrari P4 is faster. You click on that. You can get a close-up view of the car. This one has definitely been in quite a few races and has the battle scars to show it. But each car has a number. So what you do is you take that number that's in front of the car you want to choose and you just drop it in the chat. And once you do that, then I will go and pull that car, and then we will set up the races and see if your car was faster or if the car that I just opened up was faster. It's pretty simple, and it's a way to get through adding all of these cars into the fleet so then the students can use them in a way that is not as boring and tedious for me. So yeah, we're up to 549 cars, and the most recent entries are this Nissan Skyline, this Mazda, the Sinistra, this Lamborghini, Honda Civic, and the Mazda Miata. Now, this Mazda Miata is significant because when we have the little mini tournaments, there's obviously going to be a winner. But what we've done is crowned something or created something called the fastest in fleet car. And the fastest in the fleet is, in some cases, some other racing channels, they call it the gatekeeper car. So it's the fastest car that I have, that we found in the AtTheTrack.live All About Aerodynamics fleet. So that car will race the winners of today's mini tournament. So we have the 6 cars that I'm going to pull from storage, and those cars are all going to race, and then we'll come up with a winner. And now if someone in the chat suggests a car that beats one of those cars and that car is the winner, then that car will be the winner. That car will then face our fastest in fleet car and see if that can be the new gatekeeper car. And our current fastest in fleet car is right here. It is the Mazda Miata, the 2015 MX-5 Miata. And this car beat at least 6 other cars because it it beat the 5 cars that it was in the tournament with, and then it also beat our former fastest in fleet car. So the Mazda MX-5 2015 MX-5 Miata, that is our current gatekeeper car, and you can take an even closer look at that. And it's a smaller car. One of the things that I always mention is some of the factors. What happened to my pointer? Here it is. Some of the things to look for when you're selecting a car to race. If the car has a wing in the back, preferably you want that wing to be straight, to be flat. You don't want it to have a curve or a point. If it has a curve or a point, it is going to be a bit of a challenge in the launching, because our races, we use a launcher, and it's actually a launcher that I custom designed. Let me get this rotating, take a full look at that car. But it is a launcher that I custom designed because I needed the cars to move faster, and I needed a launcher with more force. And a typical Hot Wheels car launcher that you would find in a store is not going to have the force necessary to move the cars as fast as I wanted them to move. And part of that is because the faster the cars move, the more that drag and the more that air becomes a factor. The more important aerodynamics become, the faster the cars are moving. So the idea was to get the cars moving as fast as possible, and that wasn't possible with the standard Mattel or any other third-party launchers. So I created a launcher, and one of the features about the launcher is that on the back of the launcher, there is it's a block. It's basically just a square block and the cars press up against that block. And the more surface area that's touching that block, the better launch the cars get. That's what I've observed over all these years. And so a car that has a flat wing, or if it doesn't have a wing, if the back of the car is flat, then that's going to be better at the start of the race. It's going to get a better launch because more of the surface area of the car is touching the launcher. It's going to get a better push. Especially with some of the fantasy cars, some of the exotic supercars, the back of the car is not flat. It comes to a point or an angle, or there's some weird shape. And so it might just have a few small points touching the launcher. And so when it comes out, it just doesn't get a good push. I think a good example of that is if you think of the Batmobiles, I have several, but some, let's see here. Yeah, here's a good example right here. So this, turn this off. So this Batmobile here, when you look at it, turn on its side, you can see that these points back here stick out. So we have here and here, and those are the only parts of the car that are touching the launcher. And because those are the only 2 points of the car touching the launcher, and you can see sort of right there, they're just those 2 points. It's the only thing touching the launcher and the starting block. And so it makes it more difficult for that Batmobile to get a good solid push. Now this is a little better than some of the others because these points are pretty wide, so it wasn't awful. This Batmobile was not fast. So if that's the car that you were planning to pick, I would suggest you can go ahead and pick it if you want. But if you've seen any of the other episodes, you'll know that this car was not fast. And part of that, I think, has to do with the fact that it had those points at the end, and it is just not conducive to getting a good, solid launch, and the kind of launch that we want for the cars. So this Batmobile and cars like it that have weird back ends, pointy back ends, or anything like that are not typically the cars that do well. But that's just a little bit of knowledge that I sprinkled on you, and take it for what it's worth. But again, all you have to do if you want to start thinking about or looking through the cars that we have available to select to race, all you have to do is go to AtTheTrack.live and select the option that says choose a car. And right here, you can just scroll all the way through, find the car, find the number, put that number in the chat, and then we will go ahead and pull that car and get the race going. So let's get that Batmobile back in the case. All right. So we do have, there are some things that are going to be happening because for the last probably 2 months, AtTheTrack.live, I've been, I don't want to say experimenting, but just testing different things out to see what works, what doesn't work. And now I think everything's gotten dialed in. The technology, the setup, the format. And it seems that 6 cars is about the right number. And that usually takes about 2 hours to get through those 6 cars to have all the races. Not counting anyone who makes a suggestion in the chat, and then another car I have to pull, and we race those. So I've gotten all that taken care of. And all of the episodes of AtTheTrack Live, if you want to see any of the other races, are available on our YouTube channel. And there are links available for that. And when we stream to Twitch doesn't allow us to have an archive of the episodes. I think they stay up for maybe a week, something around that. So if you want to see any older episodes, just go to the YouTube channel. And in the description for each of the races, there's time codes. So if you just want to skip to the races, or if you want to see the reviews, what have you, you can do that. But about a month ago, a few weeks back, Instagram finally allowed people to broadcast. You could always go live on Instagram, but what they've now allowed you to do is to connect live streaming software to going live. So that means all of these overlays and graphics and different camera angles and switching and all of that is now possible. I can do that in Instagram. And the only problem and the difference is that it's a vertical format when you're going live, and this is obviously horizontal, which doesn't really matter until I get to the point of the races, because our race setup, the screen look like this. There are 3 screens. So there's the starting line, the middle section of the track, and then the finish line. And with the way that's set up, you need a horizontal view in order to see. And if I squish that horizontal view into a vertical format, it gets so small that it's hard to see the cars. So I haven't figured out exactly how to stream the races on Instagram and and basically in TikTok, same situation, in a vertical format. So I'm in the process of creating a different all about aerodynamics at the track live show for Instagram and for TikTok live. So that's something else that'll be coming down the line. But right now, what we're doing is getting into the cars that are going to be racing today. So at some point last year, multiple times, but around, and I think in November was the last time I went, there was a Hot Wheels die-cast car swap meet, and basically a lot of collectors go there and find rare cars and collectibles and treasure hunt cars and all of that. I go looking for cars that I think would be interesting for the students to race, and usually I try to pick cars that are not necessarily the typical standard car, because Hot Wheels, is anyone who buys Hot Wheels knows, they have cars that are modeled after actual cars that have existed or are about to exist. So you could, find a Ford F-150 Hot Wheels car, and it will look like a Ford F-150. But then they also have fantasy cars, which are just sort of wild, exotic designs. There's one that's a hot dog that is in the fleet that you can pick. There's one that's a taco. There's one that's a donut. There are just all kinds of strange, bizarre cars. So I try to get a nice balance between the actual cars and then the fantasy cars. And so that's going to be reflected in today's picks, because I went into the box that had the cars that I purchased at the collector's event, at the swap meet, and most of them were in packages, and I cracked those open. But then I noticed at the bottom of the box there were some cars that I bought that were loose. So I figured, you know what? Let's take a look at those, and we will enter those into the stats. And so the first one is very small. This is the, what does it say? The pedal driver, and it is modeled after a little pedal car. And so let's take a look at this thing. And this is it. This is the pedal driver. And you can see basically it's modeled after those little cars. I don't even know if they still make these, but it used to be like kids' toys for little kids. And it had pedals, and you push the pedals underneath to actually make the car move. And so that's what this is clearly modeled after. And it's a small car. And by comparison, here is the Miata, which is the current fastest in fleet car. And you can see even the Miata is longer than this car, but nevertheless it is going. And let me check the year on this one. The year is 2014. Now, one of the unique things about this, and one thing I'm not always a fan of when it comes to the races, and let me kind of zoom in here to get this a little bit closer so you can see it, is when the wheels are different sizes. I'm not a huge fan of that. So you see in the back, it's sort of the standard Hot Wheels wheel, but then in the front, it's got these really skinny, almost like discs that are really kind of flat. So I haven't seen a car perform very well on our track with these smaller sort of disc wheels. But there's a first time for everything, and maybe the pedal driver is going to be the car that makes me change my attitude and opinion about these. So first, let's go ahead and get the car, get the picture, and get this all set up, lined up just right there. Lock in the focus, and got the picture. And now just need to get the video, and take a look at the pedal pusher. Get that 360-degree view. And one thing is that this car is all metal, which is something that, depending on the era, you'll see more of or less of. But the metal cars are obviously heavier. So this is, I believe, I'd have to check, but I think it's a metal body sitting on a plastic base. However, because there's no real interior to the car, the weight, even though it is metal, it may not be as heavy as some of the other metal cars that we've raced in the past. So let me get this in the spreadsheet. And all of the cars from today will be available to pick by the next episode. So after I've picked the cars and pulled them out of storage, taken the pictures, taken the video, put them in the spreadsheet, then it is just a matter of getting them uploaded to the website, and then they are ready to be included. All right. Got the video there. So that is the pedal pusher. And then the other thing is, so I bought it because it was unique, and I hadn't seen one of these before. And also because buying the cars loose, you usually get a better deal. And since I'm not keeping these in the package, I want the best deal possible. So sometimes it'll be, the best deal will be a loose car. So another car that was also in there, in that pack, is this one. And well, I'm going to put it up here. It's another small car. It's another loose car. And it doesn't have, usually the information is on the bottom of the car. On this one, there is no information. Pull out my magnifying glass, double check. No. There is some manufacturing information. There's a year, 2003, and there's no name. But, and then it's interesting, it says manufactured for, so this may have been a McDonald's car. It looks like it says manufactured for M something D, so I'm going to presume that's McDonald's, and then it says Corp. So manufactured for McDonald's Corporation, I think. And I say that because I do have some other cars that my son had that he got when he was little, and they came in Happy Meals. And they had little lights. You press a button on the bottom and the interior lights up. And I think the last time I checked, the lights still work. So good for them. But anyway, I'll have to look up the details on this car to find out if it was in fact something that was from McDonald's or if it was some other promotional car. But because it's loose, I just have to look up the information. But there is a sticker on here that says Dune Rats. Dune Rats with a Z. So that makes me think this is, yeah, early 2000s. Boys with a Z, Rats with a Z. So let's just go ahead for the time being. We'll call this the Dune Rat. And 2003. But let's take a closer look at it. Get on the turntable here. Okay, so we have the Dune Rat. Let me spin it around since we've got the turntable turning. I might as well take the video first. And one of the things when I buy, there we go. When I buy the cars loose, is that typically they've been played with, which is fine because Hot Wheels are meant to be played with. But I also have to check the wheels to make sure that they're still spinning straight and the axles haven't been bent, because that will impact the performance of the cars, and that is not ideal in a situation where we need the cars to go straight down the track. And so the wheels are a little rough, but the car is basically in pretty good shape. So I don't think that I think the condition is fine and it should be able to race. If it doesn't perform well, I don't think it will be because of anything that's I've observed that's wrong with the car. So call that the Dune Rat for right now. I'm not sure what the actual name is. I'll have to look that up. But again, this is a smaller car, so there is a theme emerging today, which is the smaller cars, and there's not a lot to it. And I think that it's hard to say because, again, this is a metal car, and this one is metal on metal. So that is going to... Oh, no. I didn't ask you, Siri. I didn't ask you for any opinion. So let's see here. If I take this, let's get a good photo, zoom on in. And the pictures are important because, as I mentioned, all about aerodynamics, there is an online version of the program. And so obviously the students are having to make their car selections virtually. And so I want them to kind of be able to see all of the angles of the car so that they can make a good, solid choice and be comfortable with their pick. And this is the Dune Rat, and we can see, jump out to the video view, you can see how that compares to the pedal driver, just in terms of size. The pedal driver is still clearly the smaller of the two cars, but this is, but not by much. It's pretty much just that nose piece on the, for what we're calling right now, the Dune Rat car. So there we go. So we've got two cars that we're taking a look at. It is time for number 3. Number 3 is also a car that was loose, but I believe that this car, in fact, not I believe, I know for a fact that I have one of these cars already. And but nevertheless, I will, because I like to avoid having duplicates. But I picked this car up, the Speed Slayer, because of the unique design, and at the time I forgot that I had one, and so I was thinking maybe I did, maybe I didn't, but since it was a loose car at the swap meet, why not pick it up? And then usually the duplicate cards I give away to the students as prizes, but in this case I picked it up because of the shape, but also I mentioned how I don't like those really slim disc type wheels, and this has not two like the pedal driver. This has all four, so these really narrow tires, and I don't know, it's just, I haven't seen a car with those perform all that well on the track, but this car might be the exception. So I'm going to double check just to make, well, I'll go ahead and take the video first. I guess I might as well take the picture since it's still. All right, let's zoom in here. And this car, unlike the others, is plastic on plastic, so it's pretty light, and that might work in its favor. Just a bit here. Let's see, lock in the focus, and boom, got the Speed Slayer. And now let's get this video. And in terms of the aerodynamics, I mean, this is definitely, it should be, at a glance, I would think it's going to be fast, but it's one of those things where you never know, which is why we race the cars, and it's altogether possible. This might take the races today. I'm not sure about that, but anything's possible. And I'm going to just check to see if I do in fact have a Speed Slayer. I'm pretty sure. Yep, it is car number 97. So, yep. Turns out I do. So there will be a duplicate, which again, I try to avoid that, but it's not always possible. So that this other Speed Slayer, I'll call this Speed Slayer Red, is going to be the latest entrance. Let's take a look and see what the other Speed Slayer looks like after I finish. After this comes around. And with the videos, I don't always utilize the videos, but it's better to have the video and not need the video than to need the video and not have it. So while I have the car on the turntable, I might as well take the video. Let's go ahead and take a look at the other Speed Slayer. That was number 97. So again, remember, you can go to AtTheTrack.live. You can select choose a car, and it will bring you to this page, and then you can select the car that you think is going to be faster than the car that I have picked. So, oh, there it is. Yep, I remember this one. So this is the existing Speed Slayer. However, here's something interesting. If you look at this one, this Speed Slayer does not have the narrow tires. So that is interesting. So I'm glad I got this one, and I'm glad that I entered it in, because now we'll get to test out my theory about the narrow tires versus the standard tires. And it looks like that one has a metal base. That's definitely a metal base. I can't tell from the picture. It may be a metal body as well. So that's interesting. Okay. So I think I have, I see another race outside of the races we're going to do today. I think that there's going to be a Speed Slayer versus Speed Slayer race coming up to see if what a difference these narrow tires make, especially if it turns out that both cars are metal bases and plastic bodies, because I just checked, and the Speed Slayer, the red one, this one, it does have a metal base and clearly a plastic top. Now, if the gray Speed Slayer also has a plastic top, then we're basically looking at identical cars, and the only thing that's different other than the paint color will be the tires. And so we'll be able to test out the wide tires versus the narrow tires. So I'm actually excited about that. All right, so the Speed Slayer, I hope it performs well, but that will be a race that is going to happen. I might have to go pull that car now, so I'll have to remember that. It's car number 97 of the Speed Slayer. What's the year on this one? The year is, seems hidden. Where is my magnifying glass? It is not on. Oh yeah, it's kind of scratched off. It looks like 2014. Yeah, 2014. It's kind of scratched off, which is one of the things that happens with cars that you purchase loose. So 2014. All right, so we've got that, the Speed Slayer. We've got 552 cars to choose from, which is great. And by the end of the day, we will have 555, because we still have 3 more cars to go. And the next 3 cars are, in fact, in the packaging. They are brand new. I just pulled, well, they're new-ish, because I buy so many Hot Wheels cars every time I go to a store and see something that I think that would be fast on the track, that I like, that I think that the students would like. And so there's so many in storage. I just go into storage, pull some out for AtTheTrack.live to bring into the fleet. And so these cars I bought them a while ago, but haven't opened them. So I guess technically that makes them new. They're old, but they're new. So let's take a look at these. And since we already had 3 fantasy cars, then I decided to pick 3 sort of real cars. And we will see how those compete. So the first up is going to be this Volkswagen Golf GTI. And I'm thinking, see, I really need to start, especially with some of these cars, I need to start checking the spreadsheet, because as we've gotten to these higher numbers of 500 plus cars, the likelihood that I pick up a duplicate that has been reissued and has a different paint scheme is pretty high, because I did that with these Nissan Maxima drift cars. Now, I actually knew that I had one of the others, but I really liked this car, so I just bought another one. There are these Ford GTs, GT40s, and I have the one with the Golf livery. I have the Gumball 3000, and then the black version of that. And so this car I just like, so I keep buying these, but only one gets entered into the fleet. And there's also this Datsun Bluebird wagon, which I believe we already entered one of these into the fleet, and it was, I think it's white or red, but already had one, but I kind of like this one. I like the purple and white, but point being, I usually just try to add one version of a car into the fleet, but on occasion you'll see multiples. But the Speed Slayer, that is particularly interesting. But let's crack this open and take a look at it. Okay. All right, let's get this over here. Take a look at it. Standard sort of Volkswagen GTI. Good looking little car. And as it comes around, I'll grab this this video. And there we go. So let's see. Volkswagen Golf GTI is car number 553. And Volkswagen Golf GTI. And I didn't check the year on that one, but pretty standard vehicle that you could actually see out on the street. And like I said, I try to get a mix between the fantasy cars and the regular cars, but especially when the students are considering the various aerodynamic factors and parts of the design, then the fantasy cars usually provide an opportunity for the students to really hone in on why they picked a particular car, because it has a huge wing, and they believe that will influence the way that the air moves over, under, and around the car, or which is always important. It's another thing that we do, is that I want to know why they picked the car. What was their rationale? And sometimes in picking the fantasy cars, especially, I'll pull out some of the character cars, especially the Disney character cars. So there will be Frozen character cars, or I have a Finding Nemo car, or SpongeBob, or whatever the character cars may be, because sometimes the students won't be able to resist the urge to pick a car modeled after a character or a TV show that they like, versus picking a car based on the actual design of the car and how they believe that the air will interact with the car as it's moving down the track. So it creates, bringing in character cars and fantasy cars, it creates a little bit of a dilemma for some of the students. Do they go with their feelings and their desire to pick the car that represents their favorite character, or do they actually pick a car that has a chance to win based on its aerodynamics? So, but this car is pretty standard, and I don't know, it will probably do okay. I don't know. That Speed Slayer, if the Speed Slayer didn't have the little skinny narrow tires, I would probably pick it to win this race, even though because those two smaller cars, my thinking with the smaller cars is that there's going to be so much force pushing them down the track that they are going to possibly fly off the track and crash, which is something that will get cars disqualified. And this car is 2008. So let's go ahead and drop that in. Okay. And all right. And it's a metal body on a plastic base. so you can file that away. And next up is going to be, you're definitely going to see this this particular theme emerge. So the first up is the, take this down, the 2019 Audi R8 Spyder convertible. And I'm going to go ahead and crack this open. Okay, let's get this up on the podium. I know who I am. Let's go over here. Right there. Okay. Nice looking car. Get a kind of decent 3/4 view. That should be okay. Lock that focus in. All right, and then switch over to the video. Get that. Lock the focus in. And again, as we get near, we have one more car after this one, and then we'll be hitting the track. So you've still got a little bit of time left to pick the car that you want to see. And let's see, this is the 2019 Audi R8 Spyder. Okay, and take a view here. Oh, not that. Go this one. And what I'm going to do real quick is look and see if I can grab that other Speed Slayer. Okay. All right, stop that. Okay, so we have the Audi R8 Spyder. And the reason why I said there is a theme emerging is because the last car for today is the Porsche 918 Spyder. So here we go. We've got the Audi R8 Spyder, the Porsche 918 Spyder, and I'm probably some history or some reason why these are both named Spyder with a Y that I just am not familiar with, but it seems like two major car manufacturers wouldn't have accidentally used the same name with the same odd spelling for two somewhat similar cars. So I'm going to look up and see if there's some history there. Someone watching probably knows already, but I don't. So it's something for me to look up and learn about. Porsche 918 Spyder. We've got the Audi R8 Spyder. So I'm going to take the Audi off here. We are going to crack open this car and take a look. Okay. And this car is from 2017. a good looking car. So let's go ahead and get it here. That looks pretty good there. Lock in that focus. And boom. There we go. So let me check with this. The Audi 2019. So 2019 for the Audi. And car number 555 is the Porsche 918 Spyder. Okay. I believe I said 2018, 2017. I think 17 is what I said. So okay. So this is going to be, these cars are very similar, and I don't know what the reason is, but we're going to have Spyder versus Spyder. We're going to have Speed Slayer versus Speed Slayer. We're going to have those two small cars against each other, and then we have the GTI, which doesn't really have a match or a pair or a fit. And then we're going to take those cars and then match them up against the Mazda Miata, which is our current fastest in fleet car. So there is, there's definitely, okay, we've got that. All right. And with that, let's see, let me just double check the year on this one. Let's see, 2017. Okay, so we have the pedal pusher. We have the pedal driver. We have, and I even wrote that. Let me just double check the name. Yeah, pedal driver. I think pedal pusher was some old kind of pants. Pedal driver. All right, we have the pedal driver. We have the car that for right now we're calling the Dune Rats. That would be that one. And I'm just going based off the name that's on the sticker because there's no information on the bottom. Then we have the red Speed Slayer with the skinny tires. We have the GTI, the yellow Volkswagen GTI. And we have the 2019 Audi R8 Spyder and the Porsche 918 Spyder. And then we also have our current fastest in fleet, the Mazda MX-5 Miata. And the question is, at the end of the day, will the Miata still be the fastest car in the fleet? We will see. So let me see. And then that other Speed Slayer, I'm going to grab that. So what we'll do is give me about 2 minutes to go and grab that. And then what we'll do is after we've gotten all those cars, then it will be time to head to the track. So give me just a minute to go and grab the other Speed Slayer, and then we'll take a quick look at that and then hit the track. So be right back. Because one of the things I still need to do is I need to make a graphic for when I'm searching for things. But what I did is I did pulled. I thought I'd gotten it before, but that was a different one. And this is that other Speed Slayer. So we have the one that is going to be racing today, that was just pulled, the new one that's new to be entered into the fleet. And then we have this one, which is an older version that was already in, with the main difference in these cars being the wheels, and this one having the sort of standard Hot Wheels wheels, and the other is got those little skinny narrow wheels that I don't prefer, but hey, it may turn out that those are the best option. So with that, again, we have the pedal driver, we have the Dune Rats, we have the red Speed Slayer with the skinny wheels, we have the Volkswagen Golf GTI, the Audi Spyder, and the Porsche 918 Spyder. So those are the cars that are going to be racing. Let me just explain one last thing before we hit the track, and that is our race setup. So the All About Aerodynamics race setup, you will see a screen, and the screen will look something like this. And what you're seeing are the 3 views of our track. And on the left side, you can see that is the starting gate, and that is where the cars will launch from, right there. The cars will shoot out of the launcher. I'll give a countdown: 3, 2, 1, race. The cars will shoot out of the launcher. They'll come down towards the bottom of the screen on the left. Once they pass out of the bottom of the screen on the left, they will appear at the top of the screen on the right, and they will still be coming down towards the bottom. And then finally they will enter our finish line area, finish line camera, and you'll see the cars enter from the top, and they will come down and cross the finish line. And with our finish line, it is very simple. A flashing red light indicates you lost the race. A solid red light indicates you won the race. So solid red light indicates the winner, and flashing red light indicates the loser. And that's how the track is set up. We do have rules, and the rules are: cars are allowed to crash one time, and then we restart the race. Throw out those results, because it's best 2 out of 3. If a car crashes once, we just restart the race, no problem. But if a car crashes twice consecutively, and that's important, consecutively, then it is automatically disqualified. And don't want to disqualify any cars, but if that's how it goes, then that's how it goes. But just checking something here. Okay, that's good. What else? That's pretty much it. Hopefully these cars can all stay on the track. We can have some good races, and I will see you in 30 seconds over at the track. Okay, so here we are at the track. I am just going to double check, make sure that the audio is where it should be. Hang on. Just check. One last thing. Okay, seems like our audio is on point. So now let's see how these cars actually perform. I think might as well start off with the two smaller cars. So that would be the Dune Rats and the pedal driver. So let me get these lined up and these things out of the way. And so again, with this launcher, it creates a lot of force when it shoots these cars out. And that's great because the cars are moving quickly and we're having fast, exciting races, but it also has the potential to send the cars flying off the track, and sometimes they don't complete the race, but you never know. And so I think the biggest and most recent example is the Minecraft car, which was a box with 4 wheels, and it performed extraordinarily well. And I thought it was for sure going to fly off the track. It did not, but here we are. Okay, so we've got the Dune Rats in lane 1. We've got the pedal driver in lane 2. And let's see what happens with this first race. Again, a solid red light indicates the winner. A flashing red light indicates the losing car. So let's see what happens. Three, two, one, race. Okay, well the pedal driver, that was impressive. So the pedal driver made it all the way down to the finish line, hit the barrier at the finish line, and bounced pretty much halfway back down the track. But the problem is that the Dune Rats crashed. And because the Dune Rats crashed, that means that race gets thrown out. So it's like it never even happened. So we're going to do it again and see if the Dune Rats can stay on the track. Meanwhile, the pedal driver seemed fast. But as we've learned in the past, a car can appear fast because it's racing a slow car. And then when it gets against some better competition, we find out that car really wasn't as fast as we thought. So we will see how this plays out. But based on the All About Aerodynamics AtTheTrack.live rules, if the Dune Rat's in lane 1, if it crashes again, that's it. It's done. It's finished. It's disqualified. So the Dune Rats needs to stay on the track in order to continue. So we will see what happens. Here we go. Three, two, one, race. Okay, that was a close race, but the pedal pusher took it, as indicated by the solid red light. And that is going to mean that we are going to now switch lanes, and we're going to see if the Dune Rats, which is what I have to call it until I can go and look up the information, we'll see if the Dune Rats can make up the difference, win the race, because it didn't. The Dune Rats, it didn't get beaten by that much. It definitely lost, but it wasn't a blowout. We've seen much worse performances than that. So it has a chance. There's a possibility. But this pedal driver car seems to be up to the challenge of the dune rats. So, all right, here we go again. Cars have switched lanes. We've got the pedal driver in lane 1. We got the dune rat in lane 2. Let's see what happens. 3, 2, 1, race. Once again, the dune rat crashes coming out of the gate, but again, in order to be disqualified, the crashes have to be consecutive. So that means that the dune rats will have one additional opportunity to make it down the track and prove that it can defeat the pedal driver car, which might be asking a lot. But hey, we have rules for a reason. So, because typically if a car crashes multiple times in a row, there's something wrong with there's something happening that isn't going to be fixed by just running the cars again and again. And typically I'll go back and take slow motion video and be able to analyze and determine why a car kept crashing. And usually I'd say 8 or 9 times out of 10, the reason why a car crashes is because when it comes out of the launcher, it leaves the track. Like, it gets shot up into the air, and when it comes back to land, it just never gets stable and straight on the track again. So here we are. The pedal driver in lane 1, the dune rats in lane 2. The pedal driver already has already won one race. If it wins a second race, it's moving on. If the dune rats crashes again, it's out. If it loses the race, it's out. So all the pressure's on the dune rats. So let's see what happens. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, race. And the dune rat is toast. And it crashed 3 out of, how many races did we run? We ran the first one where it crashed, then the second one where it made it down the track and lost, then the third race it crashed, and then the restart it crashed. So the dune rat crashed 3 out of the 4 times that it raced, which suggests that the one time that it made it down the track was more luck than it was a result of, I'm not going to say skill because that's not what's at play, but it's more likely than not that that car will crash, and there's probably some reason. So I'll have to go back, take the slow motion video, and determine why exactly that car continues to crash. So the dune rats is out. Next up, let's go Spyder versus Spyder. I'm kind of curious to see what this is all about, what's actually happening here. So Spyder versus Spyder. The Porsche Spyder versus the Audi Spyder, both white. Let's see. I'm going to put the Audi is going to be in lane number 1 and put the Porsche in lane number 2. Okay, here we go. Audi versus Porsche. We got the Audi in lane 1, Porsche in lane 2. First race, let's see what happens. 3, 2, 1, race. the Audi takes the race, but that was a very interesting race because the Porsche got out to a really good start and was in the lead, but then it's almost, if these were actual cars, I would say there was some engine malfunction because the Porsche suddenly just kind of slowed and the Audi blew by it. And I'm checking the track, and I always check the track before the races start. There's no debris on the track. There's no curves or twists or bumps or anything that should have accounted for that sudden slowing of the Porsche. But wow, the Audi maintained speed and really beat the Porsche by a wide margin there at the end. So we're going to switch sides of the track and see if the Porsche can get this win and move on, or if the Audi is just going to be moving ahead along with the pedal driver. So we've switched sides. We've got the Porsche in lane 1. We've got the Audi in lane 2. And let's see what happens. Three, two, one, race. Well, we had a crash. The Porsche made it down. The Audi decided it was going to crash into one of the barriers, and that happens. But we will now have to restart that race and go back. Again, some of these cars, it's hard. It's one thing for the cars to race. It's another thing, can they handle the force that's applied when they come out of the launcher? And some can, some can't. And if they can't, if they come out of the launcher and they go up into the air, they really have to get back on the track and get stabilized before they get to these first two barriers. Because if they're coming off the track and they clip these barriers, it is over. And you see the results. So I'm going to do this again. Get these cars lined up. And all right, they look good. They're lined up again. We've got the Porsche Spyder in the Porsche 918 Spyder in lane 1. And we've got the Audi Spyder in lane 2. So let's see what happens. Three, two, one, race. Oh. The Audi blew it. What in the world? The Audi was in the lead, and then it got all the way down near the end of the track. It got all the way to this point, and then clipped this barrier. It came off the track, clipped the barrier, and that was it. It was over. It was all over. So it's too bad, and it's also 2 crashes in a row, and therefore the Audi is disqualified. That's pretty rare. That's pretty rare for that to happen, for a car to get that far down the track, that far away from the launching blocks, and then crash. That is pretty shocking, and especially when it was out to such a huge lead. And I'm almost inclined to run this one more time, because that was, well, let's put it like this. The reason that we have the disqualification rule is because usually the cars that crash they crash at the beginning, and it's an indication that they're incapable of staying on the track. But we know, because we've seen, the Audi can stay on the track, and whatever happened down there at the end, I'll have to go back and look at the video, but that's an anomaly. That's almost, I'm trying to think if I've ever seen a car crash that late in a race, and the answer is pretty much no. So I'm gonna run this again, because the Audi was out to such a huge lead. It would be a little ridiculous to say that it's not the faster car when it clearly appears to be. However, my patience only has but so much of a limit, and if this Audi crashes again, it's a wrap. It's out. So we're gonna run this race one more time and see what happens. Three, two, one, race. And now the Porsche decides to crash. This is almost becoming the never-ending race, because if I gave the Audi that pass, now I've got to give the Porsche a pass. But the Audi did make it all the way down the track with no problems. So it's likely that if these cars can stay on the track, they will end up in a result where the Audi beats the Porsche, because it just appears to be the faster car. But this is it. This next race, this is it. Whichever car, if one of these cars crashes, it's done. It's out. And we're moving on. So let's see what happens. Again, got the Porsche set up in lane number 1. Audi is getting lined up in lane number 2. Both the cars are in there. They look good, and they'd better make it down the track. Here we go. Three, two, one, race. The Porsche crashed. The Porsche is out, and the Audi is moving on. So we've got the Porsche, we've got the Audi. We are going to now figure out which car is going to step up next. So I guess we're going to take the Speed Slayer and put that up against, let me see. The Speed Slayer will go against the Volkswagen Golf. And we will get to see if the Speed Slayer, with those really narrow tires, if that is in fact the way to go. Is that going to help it? Is that going to hurt it? I have no idea, but that's why we race the cars. So let's get these cars set up. Put the Speed Slayer in lane number 1. This car feels super light. I mean, very light. It's, even though it's got a metal base and the plastic body, it's super light. So I don't know. Again, that might cause it to fly up into the air, fly off the track. I don't know. We'll have to see how that plays out. But we've got the Volkswagen in lane 2. We've got the Speed Slayer in lane 1. Let's see what happens. Three, two, one, race. the Speed Slayer destroying the Volkswagen, and those skinny wheels did not seem to hurt the Speed Slayer one bit. But again, it's hard to tell if the Speed Slayer is just that fast or if the Volkswagen is just that slow. Either way, Speed Slayer took that first race convincingly. So now we will take a look and see which is. We're going to switch lanes. So now we'll put the Speed Slayer, will be in lane 2. Get the Volkswagen lined up in lane number 1. Volkswagen doesn't want to stay put, but there it is. And then get the Speed Slayer lined up. Okay, that all looks good. So we've got the Speed Slayer in lane number 2, Volkswagen in lane number 1. Let's see what happens. Three, two, one, race. Speed Slayer takes it and took it with ease. The Volkswagen had no shot. Not in that race, not in the previous race. So again, solid red light indicates the winner, flashing red light indicates the loser. But in this case, we didn't need either of those because it was just that much of a beating that the Speed Slayer handed out. So now we're down to the 3 cars in this race. We've got the Audi Spyder, we've got the pedal driver, and we've got the Speed Slayer. So I think we'll go Audi versus pedal driver and see which of those cars will move on to face the Speed Slayer. All right. So we'll put the pedal driver in lane number 1. We'll put the Audi in lane number 2. Okay. All right, got these lined up. Pedal driver in lane number 1, Audi in lane number 2. Let's see what happens. Three, two, one, race. The Audi takes it and took it convincingly. So again, it's a situation where the pedal driver seemed fast, and it probably is fast enough, but it really looked faster because of the competition. When it was facing the Dune Rats, it looked very fast, but against the Audi, not so much. So it is time to switch lanes and see if the pedal driver can pull out a win and stay alive. Let's see here. We've got the Audi switching lanes here. And then the pedal driver will be in lane number 2, trying to get down the track fast enough to actually make this a competitive race and force us to a third and final race. But right now the Audi's up 1 race to nothing, and it's best 2 out of 3. So if the Audi takes it, it's moving on to face the Speed Slayer. Audi lane 1, pedal driver lane 2. Let's see what happens. 3, 2, 1, race. The pedal driver came back, took a race. Okay, so the pedal driver now has made this a competition. Although, why is the Audi in? That's well, so the pedal driver won that, but it appears that I put the Audi in backwards, which is strange, but I don't know how I could have done that, but apparently I did. And so even though the pedal driver won, gonna have to throw that race out because somehow, some way, I put the Audi in backwards. I don't know how that's possible, unless it hit because when I picked it up at the end of the race, it was backwards, and unless it hit the barrier, did a flip, and landed backwards, unless that happened, it means that I lined it up initially backwards, and that's the problem. So that means we got to run this race again. So the Audi is in lane 1, pedal driver in lane 2. The Audi is now facing the correct direction, so let's see if that makes a difference. Here we go. Three, two, one, race. So it did make a difference for the Audi in the sense that the Audi crashed right out of the gate. So let's run that again and see if can prevent that from happening again. Okay, got the Audi. It's a little temperamental. All right, got that lined up. Let me go grab the pedal driver, which made it down the track. Of course it did. It's made it down the track basically every single time. It just hasn't been the fastest car every single time. But we will go back and drop it in here. And let's see, get it lined up. All right, pedal driver's lined up. Audi's in lane 1, lined up again. Here we go. Let's see what happens. Three, two, one, race. Whoa! The pedal driver takes the race. That was a really good race, and it was close. And the pedal driver took it. So we are going to a third and final race. The Audi versus the pedal driver to see who moves on to face the Speed Slayer in the finals. That was a good race. Good and close. I didn't expect the pedal driver to come through like that. And that is a situation where it's a good thing that we have the finish line indicator, because from where I was down here at the starting line, that race was too close to call. All right, so we're going to switch it up. I will get the Audi in and make sure that it is facing forward. And then let's get the pedal driver lined up. Make sure it's ready to go. All right. So we've got the pedal driver in lane 1. We've got the Audi in lane 2. We're going to see which car moves on to take on the Speed Slayer. So here we go. Three, two, one, race. And the Audi took it. So the Audi moves on to race against the Speed Slayer to find out who is today's At the Track Live champion. So let's go back, get these two cars set up and ready to go. Speed Slayer versus the Audi. The Audi has had some bumps in the road. It's bounced around, it's crashed, but it's made it to the finals against the Speed Slayer. So we will see if that if the Audi can keep up its performance, stay on the track, have a good race, or if the Speed Slayer is going to show that the skinny tires are the difference makers, is the way to go. Skinny tires. So, it won't stay put. Okay. The cars are lined up. This is the finals. This is the Speed Slayer in lane 1 versus the Audi in lane 2. And let's see what happens. Three, two, one, race. Oh! The Audi took the first race. Again, it was close, and I'm glad I had the indicator. And the Speed Slayer, where is it? Oh, it crashed and went off the track. Did that. That was something new that happened. Okay. All right, so it's Speed Slayer is down. Speed Slayer is going to need to pick it up if it's going to defeat this Audi. So let's get them lined up again. We're going to switch sides of the track. And even though beforehand I always check the track, clean it, check it with a laser level to make sure that neither car has an unfair advantage, but you can only do so much. At a certain point, the cars have to race, they have to make it down the track, and we're going to see if the Audi can do that. So we're going to go Speed Slayer is now in lane number 2. The Audi Spyder is in lane number 1. We're going to see, trying to get this Speed Slayer pressed right up against the launching block, which it is. Okay, so here we go. It's going to be Audi Spyder versus Speed Slayer. If the Audi takes it, the Audi is today's champion, moves on to face the fastest in the fleet. Speed Slayer takes it, we're going to a third race, so let's see what happens. Three, two, one, race. Speed Slayer took it with ease, and we are going to see now if we are going to have the Speed Slayer and its skinny tires as our champion, or if it will be the Audi Spyder moving on and being today's champ. So let's get them lined up one more time. Okay, got. All right. Get the Audi set up. The Audi Spyder all set up. Lane number 2. The Speed Slayer set to roll in lane number 1. Okay. Cars are locked in. Ready to go. whichever car wins this is today's champion. So here we go. Three, two, one, race. And the Audi, piling on the drama, crashed, as it has done semi-frequently throughout today's races. But again, it needs to crash consecutively. It was given a pass on that late crash, that one where it went all the way down the track and then decided to smash into a barrier. So it got one pass, but there will be no more passes issued. Speed Slayer, let me go retrieve that car. This is the finals. Today's At The Track Live. We've had 6 cars inducted into the All About Aerodynamics At The Track Live fleet. And we are trying to find out which of these 6 cars is going to be today's champion. So let me get the Speed Slayer lined up in lane 1. Speed Slayer doesn't want to get pressed up against the launching block correctly, but that has to happen to ensure a fair race. Okay. All right, so the Speed Slayer is locked in lane 1, Audi in lane 2. If the Audi crashes, that's it. It's disqualified. It's had more than enough chances, and we're going to see. Hopefully, we get a good, solid race and pick a winner. All right, here we go. Three, two, one, race. Oh! It was close. It was so close, but the Audi took it. The Audi took it. That was impressive. The Audi is this car that stayed on the edge of defeat most of the day, and it has crashed. It has won races. It has lost races, but at the end, it did enough to beat the Speed Slayer and become today's champion. But that's just today's champion. The real question becomes, what are you going to do when it's time to face the fastest in the fleet? Who's the fastest in the fleet? I'll tell you who the fastest in the fleet is. The fastest car in the All About Aerodynamics fleet is the Mazda MX-5 Miata, and that is the car that the Audi is going to race right now. So, here we go. It is going to be the Audi Spyder versus the Mazda Miata. So let's get these cars lined up and see what happens. All right, so we'll put the Audi back into lane number 2, where it just took the race against the Speed Slayer, and then get the Mazda lined up right here in lane number 1. So these cars are ready to go. We're going to see which car is the fastest in the fleet. Is it going to remain the Mazda, or is the Audi Spyder going to take the title? Here we go. Three, two, one, race. Whew. The Mazda Miata said, I'm not ready to give up my title just yet, and won that race clearly. I mean, there was no question about that. Wow. Okay. The Mazda had a few weeks off. Happy New Year to everyone. And the Mazda said, New Year, same me, because this car is quick. Okay, so we're going to switch sides and see if the Audi fares better in lane 1 than it did in lane 2. So let's get it all lined up. All right. Looks pretty good. Right there. Okay, get the Mazda pushed into position. The Mazda is just ready to rock. Okay, here we go. So the Mazda's in lane 2, Audi's in lane 1. Audi needs to take this in order to press on to a third and final fastest in fleet championship race. But if the schedule is anything, then it means it's just about time for the Audi to crash at least once. It seems to crash once per per tournament grouping. So let's see what happens. Three, two, one, race. The Audi did not crash, but it also did not win, which means the Mazda MX-5 Miata is still the fastest Hot Wheels car out there. It is the fastest in fleet, and until we find another car that is faster, that can beat it, then it will be our champ. Now, one thing I wanted to compare was with the Speed Slayers. We had 2 Speed Slayers. I had the one that had the skinny tires, and then the one that had the wider, more traditional tires. The cars seem to weigh about the same, so the only real difference seems to be the tires. So let's line them up to have a race, a Speed Slayer, slay off, and see which tires perform better and bring home the victory for their car. So let's see. We're going to go with the skinny tire Speed Slayer, the red one, in lane 1. And we're going to go with the wide tire Speed Slayer in lane number 2. Lane 2 and lane 1. Okay, so Speed Slayer versus Speed Slayer, skinny tires versus fat tires. Who you got? Here we go. Three, two, one, race. So the wide tire Speed Slayer took the first race, but it was close, as really you would think it should be for 2 cars that are identical, except for this one small factor, which is the tires. So let's line them up, switch sides, and see if the results are the same. And really what I would expect is that the results, regardless of which car wins, it should still be a close race, unless the tires played that much of a factor in determining which car was actually faster, but I don't know that that's the case. All right, so get the Speed Slayer in here. Okay, we've got skinny tires, Speed Slayer in lane number 2, and the wide tire Speed Slayer in lane number 1. Wide tires up, 1 race to nothing, so let's see what happens. 3, 2, 1, race. And wide tire speed slayer slammed into the barrier, so we'll have to reset that race and see if we can make sure that that car stays put. So let's see, that lined up there, and then it doesn't want to stay. It's in such a hurry to get down the track, it doesn't want to stay in position in the launcher. All right, now he's got it. Okay, let me go get the red Speed Slayer, skinny tires, and see if it can beat out the other car and force us to a third and final race, because the first race was extremely close. So I would expect that this race, provided each car can stay on the track, will also be close. So here we go. Cars are lined up. We've got the wide tire Speed Slayer in lane 1. We've got the skinny tire Speed Slayer in lane 2. Let's see what happens. Three, two, one, race. Really? Really? Come on, Speed Slayer. You're killing me over here. Slamming into the barrier. That's an amateur move. And the only reason I'm not completely disqualifying this car is because the whole point of doing this is not to have the racing tournament so much. It's to find out which of these cars, the one with the skinnier tires or the one with the wide tires, is the faster of the two cars. And so let me reset the finish line. But if the other Speed Slayer can't stay on the track, then it kind of defeats the purpose of trying to conduct this experiment. But I'm going to try again, undeterred. Let's see. All right, let's try and make it happen. Come on, Speed Slayer, stay on the track. Here we go. Three, two, one, race. Okay, so this is getting ridiculous. It has crashed twice out of lane 1, only out of lane 1. Out of lane number 2, it stayed in and was in good shape. So got one more thing I'm going to try. It's getting on my nerves, but I really am interested to see if both cars get a good solid launch. If the race is as close as that first one was. If it is, it may suggest that the tires and the wheels don't really have as much to do with the car's performance as I previously thought. So here we go again. Come on, Speed Slayer with the wide tires. Stay on the track this time. Here we go. Three, two, one, race. There we go. Okay, so it stayed on the track, and it was beaten by the skinny tires version, and that race was not as close as the first race. So it's hard to draw any kind of definitive conclusion other than we are going to have a third race. That's the conclusion. All right, let's see. We're going to switch sides of the track once again, as is custom. And we're going to have skinny tires Speed Slayer in lane 2. We're going to have wide tires Speed Slayer in lane number 2. I'm sorry, skinny tires in lane 1, wide tires in lane 2. Here we go. Three, two, one, race. And this time it's the red Speed Slayer, the one with the skinny tires, that slams into the barrier. So there may be something with the design of these cars, or because it's not, there's nothing about the track that suggests that they should be bouncing off. But usually, again, what happens is when I go back and look at these things in slow motion, the cars, especially these lighter cars, they tend to fly up in the air, which is why I have that acrylic piece above the cars when they launch out, because the cars do fly up into the air. The acrylic keeps them on the track, but then whether or not they get stable enough to make it down the rest of the track is always an open question. And sometimes you just see that it really is just a matter of luck as to whether or not they crash or if they straighten up and make it down the track. This is the final regardless. So we're going to see if the skinny tire Speed Slayer, which is in lane 1, can beat the wide tire Speed Slayer, which is in lane 2. Here we go. Three, two, one, race. Skinny tires took it in a very, very, very close race. So, no real definitive conclusion. So let me grab up those cars and we'll head back to the garage and take a look at the winners and some of the losers. Okay, so the Mazda Miata remains the fastest car in the fleet, the fastest Hot Wheels car going, and it was not close. It was able to easily defeat the Audi. What was this? The Audi R8 Spyder. I knew it was a Spyder. I just didn't remember that number. So the Audi R8 Spyder was defeated. The Mazda Miata remains our fastest in the fleet car. But the big deal for today, or not the big deal, but the thing that I was kind of most interested in was the performance of Speed Slayer versus Speed Slayer. And it was skinny tires Speed Slayer here with those little slim disc tires versus the other Speed Slayer that had the standard traditional Hot Wheels wide tires, and I thought I had my scale with me, and I was going to weigh the cars to see how much of a difference there was between the two. But since I don't have the scale here, I will go ahead. Oh, no, I found it. Here it is. Because again, these cars are very similar. Their performance was relatively similar. And so I'm curious to find out about the weight. So let's take a look and see. And it turns out that, all right, Speed Slayer number 2 weighs in at, Speed Slayer number 2 comes in at 31.2 grams. And so this is the Speed Slayer with the wide tires, 31.2 grams. And the one with the narrow wheels, let's see, that one is 30.9 grams. So we have 30.9 grams for the skinny tires, and just double check, we have 31 grams now is what it's registering for the wide tires. So the tire size clearly doesn't add any additional weight. I mean, if it does, it's basically 1/10 of a gram. So that's minimal at best. And in terms of the performance, there really wasn't a significant difference in the performance of the two cars. The races were close. The only issues were the one with the wide tires staying on the track, but that probably has to do with their overall weight and how they were coming out of the launcher. It might have to do with the design of the cars. I'll have to go back and take a slow motion video to see what exactly the issues were. But turns out, I guess I may have been too hasty in judging the skinny, thin tires, because that pedal pusher also had skinny tires in the front. It had the combination, which I'm not a fan of. Just pick one. Either go with the wide tires or stick with the fat tires. But the pedal pusher was, pedal driver, it had a decent showing. But all in all, none of that actually mattered, because the fastest car was still, at the end of the day, it was the Mazda Miata. And so we have more cars entered into the fleet, and that is always a good thing, because it gives the students in All About Aerodynamics, it gives them much more choice. And I always want them to have the opportunity to make choices. And the more cars they are, the tougher their choices become. So they really have to think about all of the aerodynamic qualities and the information that they've learned before they make their selection and their choice. So this is another edition of At the Track Live. We're here every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Pacific, live on Twitch and YouTube. Follow us on Instagram. I believe I thought I had a little graphic that had the Instagram handle. Here it is. right here. Boom. Follow us at Instagram at AA Aerodynamics, and you can find out information about any upcoming races and any other live broadcasts, because as I mentioned, going to begin streaming some type of programming live on Instagram and TikTok. So you can find us in both places at AA Aerodynamics. So for All About Aerodynamics and At The Track Live, I am Coach James, and I will see you at the races.